Alright, and good evening, and welcome to, I believe it is round 19 of the AK Racing the 8 Supercar Championship. I do apologise, there will be some massive problems due to my CPU occupancy at 99% around here, but I will try and keep up with the action that is going on. Had the same issue, unfortunately, in the IMSA series last week, and it seems to be continuing once again this week, so it must be a circuit issue because I've not had these issues at any other circuit. But currently in the qualifying session with 24 minutes remaining, and we've got Andrew O'Hara topping the timesheets up the front. And we've got Scott Cortum in second. It's currently on screen. You will see the cars warping about, as you can see right there. That is not the case, well, at least for the most part. That is unfortunately due to the CPU occupancy, and that's despite changing graphic settings and the like. It's just for whatever reason, this track does not like computer, and you see the cars warping around everywhere. At the moment, Cortum coming out of the final turn, and trying to set a 2:05. They won't do it this time around. 2:06.1 for him, 1 second off the pace. We'll jump over to Andrew O'Hara, see how he's faring at the moment. Obviously, currently fastest man on the circuit. And seen Himbry now. Tim Himbry jumping up into P3, 1.4 seconds off the pace. Still plenty out. Now we've got Ross Macca and Reed also dropping, well, not dropping, but picking up pace and moving up the order. Macca second, Reed to fourth. Had Gomez now into the top 10. And Lauda also ninth place now. O'Hara crosses the finish line 2:04, so he improves his fastest lap. 2:04.7 now for him, 3 tenths faster than his previous best. And he continues to the timesheet, as he did, I believe, in the last round at Singapore as well. Again, I do apologise for all the walking that is taking place. I might pause the stream and see if I can perhaps change some more settings to bring about the performance. Yeah, this track does seem to not like my computer. Anyway, O'Hara at 2 tenths down so far on this lap. We'll cut around, find another driver out of the circuit. So Peter Reed in the green and grey Shell Helix FGX Falcon. It's just been dumped down into P5 as Delaney moves up to P3. And I really wish the CPU would piss off. Ooh, and that's a big accident. So Peter Reed will have to get out of it. I do believe that is Ross Packer. Yep, it is. To the fence at the kink. And the kink here, it is vital to take as close to flat as possible. The faster drivers will be able to manage it. Lower drivers won't be. And if you get it slightly wrong, trying to take it flat, that is what happens. You run wide on the grass and then end up in the wall on either the left or the right. So now, to Scott Cortum in the Nissan Altima. See Chisana now move into the top 10. Jumps Lauda down to 11th, Gomez down to 12th. They have Lynn pop up into P8, being lazy up into P7 as well. Right on board, Scott Cortum. Comes up to the carousel. I believe this is an out lap, so we're not going to have any live timing for this one. As you can see, kink is tricky. There's that bit of lag comes through, I apologise. Down into Canada corner. As you see, Keys set a personal best at 2:08.8, which is some way off the pace. Now, Cortum, you want to get this one right. It might be an outlap, but you do want to get it right to set yourself up for the best possible run into turn 1. In fact, he's going into the pits, so we'll find another driver to jump on board. And it looks like Delaney also on an outlap. We'll jump onto Peter Reid, and again, he looks like he's on an outlap because he should not be 1 minute 50 at the point of the circuit. Jump to Tim Hembury, who's binned it as soon as they've cut to him. Alright, now we'll follow. James Delaney's just about to cross the start-finish line, and we'll follow him for a lap around Elkhart Lake and the Road America circuit. So, down a couple gears into turn 1. A little bit of slide on the exit, but it won't have cost him too much time. If you can just see the inside of his steering wheel, you will see in the red writing, if you can make it out, how far he is down off his own split. So he's right there with his own split, but he'll be hoping to find a good portion of time. As you can see, 1.3 seconds down. So now the run down into turn 3. Fairly early on the brakes. Down into second gear, short shift up to third. And down one here. This tricky left-hander. This one you want to take flat or as close to flat as possible. And this one, again, it can carry a little bit of speed through here, but he's just missed the apex. Will have cost him a little bit of time coming into the carousel. Now this one, again, vital that you get, importantly, the exit right, but you've got to get the mid-corner correct as well. And, looking at his dash there, he's a little bit faster than his delta, but he is down on his time. Very nicely done through the kink, but he's not going to make up too much time at the moment. Oh, and a big slide into Canada corner. That wasn't That wasn't my CPU this time. That was him just making a slight mistake, outbraking himself. And now in the penultimate corner, again, had to get out of it. That will have cost him a little bit of time. And he's understeered wide of the apex of the final corner, so that will cost him even more time. So he might be pretty close to his own personal best delta in this session, but there's still quite a bit of car performance for James Delaney. In fact, we will follow him around once again to see one of the Nissan Altimas leave the pit lane. He has got, I do believe that's the Timken ZB in front of him, who's had a big accident. It is. He's kept his foot in it, he's made contact, and unfortunately Delaney, that has cost Delaney, and he's going to have to get out of it. And there goes the distance that just left the pits. Alright, and we've had so Macca into P2, and he's going to start another lap. Right on board. Looks like he is on an outlap. And apologise, just a little bit of lag there. Try and find someone on a lap. Tim Hembury. I do believe this is a lap that he is on, and he's currently almost 4/10 up on his current time. So you do get a little bit of lag. That's why the car in front looks like it's drifting through the carousel. I do believe Hembury can go a bit quicker than this, or the track isn't in ideal conditions this time around, because we did have to restart the server just prior to qualifying, so it will be rubbering up all the time. And yeah, he's up 4/10 of a second and making up just a little bit of time through the kink as well. Hopefully the traffic in front doesn't hinder him too much, as we see one of the Red Bull cars off at Canada Corner, and smartly stays off the road and away from the guys trying to set a lap now through the penultimate corner. And a weird and shallow entry for Himbury in the final corner this time around. Not too bad an exit, but he has lost a little bit of time compared to his Delta. He was 5/10 up, and when he crosses the line, it's going to be around about 4, perhaps just under. In fact, he got a track cut, so I apologise. In fact, no, it has set a lap time because it has 1.4 next to his name there on the left-hand side. So he did improve his lap time, it seems. I apologise, the live timing in this can be a little bit buggy at times. You see the Nissan in front of him get a bit of a slide on at turn 2 as it ran a little bit too wide on the grass under braking. He's able to save it, and Himbury get a little bit of tow and go around down the run into turn 3. Himbury 3/10 down on O'Hara. As we see Hall now move up into P3. With Himbury, he's now up a 1/10 of a second, so we should see times continually improve as the session wears on. And in fact, he's actually dropped a little bit of time this past couple of corners, looking at the dashboard of Himbury's ZB Commodore. So I'm just going to search for a number of drivers now out on the circuit. See who's out there setting a decent lap time. Again, I do apologise for the warping that is taking place. This track is a bit of a doozy. Macca on this lap, 6 cents down on his personal best. All after setting his quick lap, he went immediately back to the pits. I do believe Macca's fastest time in practice was in the very low 2:05 range. I do believe it was a 5:0. Currently 4/10 off that at the moment. Should he set a 2:05.0, he still won't be quite close to O'Hara, set a mid 2:04. But it might keep the cars behind him at bay. Nice run through the first couple of corners, but he is 1/10.5 down, as you can see on his steering wheel. So he approaches the first split here just before turn 3. Again, he's lost a little bit more time there at turn 3, so he's a little bit off. As once again, CPU playing all kinds of havoc at the moment. See now, Chazana now move up into P8, so a nice lap from him. He dumps Lucas out of the top 10. Pops himself in between Peter Reid and Justin Lin. And as you can see, that is what the CPU occupancy does. Unfortunately, warps everything about. Seems to do better when we ride on board. So we ride on board for with Macca for now. As you see, Keys now move up into P11. 2.2 seconds off the pace. big slide on the exit. Car getting unsettled on the curbing. Exit of turn 1 there, as we see Lynn now move up into the top 10, and he's immediately beaten by Lucas. Bit of traffic in Macca's way, but it is letting him go by. And we've got Webster, Ash Webster setting a lap to 8.5 for him. That pops him down in 16th place. Mercenary also setting a quicker lap. And now David Rissa also setting a lap time, putting him into P19 with 9 minutes remaining. About 3.5 tenths down as we see now Scott Cortum move up into P4, not far away from Ross Macca, who we're riding on board. So Macca, Hall, Cortum very close together, only a couple tenths separating the three. And what can Macca muster in this final sector? So a decent run through the penultimate and final corners. He's actually gained a couple tenths on his personal best, but the rest of the lap means he's a tenth and a half down on his personal best. So he's not going to improve, but as you can see, bit of time in there. In those last couple corners, if you can just keep it close, the first 3 quarters of the lap. With that, actually, we'll jump on board now. Man currently at the top of the timesheets, so he approaches, well, he goes through, I should say, the carousel. It's vitally important to get the exit, the carousel right. Looks like he's just on a slow down lap, because that, obviously getting the carousel right leads to the kink, and if you get those two right, it leads to, obviously, lap time. A couple tenths can be made up from the carousel to here at Canada Corner, and it can also be the difference between holding onto or overtaking and moving up a position. So vitally important you get it right. Also vitally important you don't overuse that front left and rear left tyre as well. So O'Hara slowing down, looks like he's going to try and set himself up for a quick lap here. Yep, continues on. Just wanted to give himself some breathing room, perhaps cool down the tyres just a little bit and make a decent effort at it this time around. Very late on the brakes. Down a couple gears. Had to catch a little bit of slide there, but didn't lose any time. In fact, looks like he's up just a little bit on his own time. And now the run to turn 3. He's got traffic off in the distance. It's about 4 seconds or so away. Yellow Nissan, and he's up 10th and a half on his own time. Using all the road and the ripple strip on the exit. Beautifully into the left-hander under the bridge. Has lost a little bit of time though at the steering wheel. It's now only half a tenth up when he was a tenth and a half up at the split line. And now the carousel. Oh, and a big slide on the exit, but he did keep his foot in it, so it might not cost him too much time. So he's still up on his own time, but he has lost now 0.09 of a second. Now approaching Canada Corner, fairly late on the brakes. Want to carry a bit of speed and have a nice smooth exit, which he has done so. And now you want to be flat here for the final couple of corners, and he's managed that. Doesn't outbrake himself for the final corner. Would have liked to have perhaps just kissed the curb on the inside, but I don't think it, well, it has actually cost him a little bit of time because he was up by a little bit more, but he will have a little bit of a slipstream to help him to the finish line. And Andrew O'Hara, 2 minute 4.6. So he's thrown the gauntlet down earlier in the session, but he's just made it just that little bit more difficult for the chasing pack behind. Rusty Hall out there at 4 minutes next to his name. I don't believe is correct. Well, it shouldn't be correct as we got one of the GRM cars off in the grass on the inside of turn 2 there. And now a ride on board Rusty Hall. Has got one of the FGX Shell Helix cars in front of him. I believe it's Peter Reid, and Reid off the road. Now, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the live timing there, but the timing on the steering wheel, it is going to be very difficult to see on stream. But yeah, that timing right there is obviously out because he's not setting a 5 minute and a 5.5 minute lap. Apparently 3/10 down on his own time. He's had a good exit out of the carousel, and as you can see, he's making that time back. Oh, he's had to lift, feather the throttle just a little bit at the kink, but he's still made time. But so as you saw with O'Hara, it was pretty much flat through there. There's still a bit of time in it for Hall. But he's not far away. He's had a fantastic exit and fantastic run through Canada Corner, and he's actually now up. So he's made up 0.3 of a second, so there's a fair amount of time in it for him if he can just put it all together. But he'll only have really one more opportunity, so hopefully for him he's got enough fuel on board for another lap or two. Because with 2 minutes remaining, if he presses escape now, he's probably not going to get back around in time to set a lap. So a 2:05.3 for Hall, and that moves him now up into P2, but still 7.5 tenths adrift of Andy O'Hara at the head of the field. Car in front of him, James Delaney, looks like he's going to get out of the way. Kusana out there, he's out there in 8th place at the moment, so he's doing a very solid job in the yellow and black Nissan Altima 420 Racing. We've got Peter Reid out there, so we'll sit with Peter Reid, see how he goes. Rusty Hall, who was around him on the circuit, has gone back to the pit, so got a Red Bull, and then high contrast racing car, another Red Bull, and then the other high contrast racing car behind him. Reid, 3.5, almost 4 tenths, actually bleeding just a little bit of time. He's tried to keep it flat through the kink. He's ran wide there. I think that might even be a track cut. But anyway, that's probably cost him on this lap. So he'll be hoping to set up a decent lap next time around. And he's actually got James Delaney in front of him on the road. His dash isn't working at the moment, so I do believe this is either an out lap or he's had a cut on this lap. Ooh, he's ran wide there. That's going to compromise his run, actually, for the next lap, which will be his final lap if he's got enough fuel for it. So jump back to Keen Lucas. He's 7 seconds down on his time. He's not going to make it, so he's gone into the pits. But Courtum, he doesn't make it either. And in fact, the high contrast racing car of Peter Reid didn't make it either. So their times are set. And then we ride on board Andrew O'Hara. Can he improve? He's very, very close. Going by the dashboard. About half a tenth up by the looks of it. Losing just a little bit of time, but he should just improve here. And he does. So 2:04.619 for Andrew O'Hara. We've got James Delaney out on the circuit, so he managed to get to the start-finish line. As did Peter Reid by the looks of it as well. Would have only just made it, so we are in overtime. These will be the final laps for these drivers. Oh, and a big slide. Delaney, that would have cost him a little bit of time. And now he's got to compose himself through the carousel and just set himself up for a good exit and make that time up with a nice exit and run down into the kink, and then a nice run through the kink hopefully for him. Doesn't use a curb on the left like a number of other drivers does. Has to feather the throttle a little bit. And he's just bleeding time, so be a little bit frustrated with that one because he was up by about a tenth of a second. Oh, and a big slide at Canada Corner. And I think that will do it for him. He's not going to improve after that mistake. We've had Dean Brister improve his personal best to a 2:10 and Delaney into the pits. Matt Cotter continues on out there. Looks like he's going to practice a pit entry as well. But Scotty out there, he crosses the start-finish line. The Summit ZB, he'll qualify 18th with Brister finishing in 19th place. Alright, so just to run through the final positions for qualifying, Andrew O'Hara will start race 1 from pole position with a 2:04.619, followed by Rusty Hall in P2 with a 2:05.397. So O'Hara quite a ways in front of the rest of the field, but Hall, Macca and Courtum, they're separated by about 2.5 tenths of a second, so not much between those guys. Courtum has 3 tenths over Tim Himbury in 5th place, who set a 2:05.9. And then we have James Delaney in 6th, Josh Lynn in 7th, and, well, Tim Himbury, Delaney and Lynn, they're separated by a tenth of a second, so very close between those guys. And then there's a 3/10 gap between 7th and 8th of Josh Lynn and Peter Reid. And then the gap between Peter Reid and Anthony Chisana and Keen Lucas, again, that's only a tenth of a second between those guys, with Peter Reid setting a 2:06.3 and both Chisana and Lucas 2:06.4s. And then about 4 tenths back in 11th place, we've got Matt Cotter, who set a 2:06.8. 2:06.9 for Keys, and then in 13th place is Brendan Bean Lazy with 2:07.1. 14th place for Manny Gomez, 15th for Thomas Lauder, and then 16th we have Ash Webster. Mercenary will start 18th. Scotty in 18th, David Brister in 19th, and Simon Phillips in 20th place. And Greg Brock failed to set a lap time, but he should be another one that will be participating in the race. And we do have a safety car that is there should we need it, that didn't set a lap. Alright, so I guess it's time to bring up the championship standings with how's that on 4,375 points, with a bit of a lead in the championship over Spool in 2nd place. Flubber in 3rd place, his fairways off Mr. Spool, almost 300 points behind. And then again, he's got a fairly large gap over Matt on 3,300 points. But Matt, he's only, a good 30 points away from Andy 450, or Andrew O'Hara, and O'Hara has been the pace setter, obviously, this evening. So you probably will see him either jump up in front of or get very close to Matt, should the round progress the way Andrew O'Hara will want it to. Then in 6th place, we've got Monjin with 3,186. He's got a couple hundred points over AT7. Keen in 8th on 2,859. He's got a 500 point gap over UMAD Music on 2,349. And he has about 150 points over Omok Guy, who rounds out the top 10. Alright, in the 11th place, we've got Rusty, who, if he puts together a nice result here, should see him jump up a spot or two in the standings on 2,169 points. Right behind him in the championship, though, is Anton Chisana on 2,145 points, followed by Jay Lin on 2,076. Lucifer only 39 points back on 2,037 points. Brock on 19,074 in 15th place. And then in 16th, got Bredos on 1,794 with Jaeger only 70 odd points behind him in 17th. Scotty on 1,695. He's only 33 points in front of NPRK, who is not here this evening. And then Mercenary on 1,557 rounds out the top 20. Alright, now flipping over to the Teams Championship. As you can see, high contrast racing, top the standings at the moment, followed by the Red Bull Holden Racing team. Then we've got 420 Racing in the Nissan Altimas in 3rd place, and the other set of ludicrously liveried Nissan Altimas in 4th, with Green Envy Gardening Racing. Then we have 888 Engineering in 5th place, with Andrew O'Hara here, but I don't believe his teammate is here this evening. And then we have Mad at You Racing team. They're not here this evening, followed by Calsonic Pornhub, Team ASRNZ, North Park Racing in the Caterpillar liveried cars, followed by Walkinshaw Racing, Penrite Racing, Jim's Motorsport. Neither of those cars and teams are here this evening. Kimberley Repsol Motorsport, followed by Nismo, Highness Motorsport, and Wilson Security Racing, rounding out the team's standings in 16th place. And still got about 3 minutes remaining left in the countdown. So we will wait for that to tick over. Hopefully there's not too much lag and CPU usage, and everything comes through nice and smoothly for everybody. But we will wait and see, as this track is as we've seen so far, is a bit of a bitch. In fact, with that 2-minute break, we'll just take a short break, but we shall be back. Alright, and welcome back. Just about to get underway. And in fact, we are away. And it looks like Andrew O'Hara has held onto his lead into turn 1. And we got the Nissan of Rusty O'Hara in behind. And looking fairly clean so far. But at the front, O'Hara stays in the lead. And we've got the two Nissans, Tim Himbry up into 4th place. And got Delaney and Cortum side by side out of turn 2. In fact, Himbry is there as well, so it looks like they're going to try and make it 3 wide now into turn 3. So very close between these guys. Again, I do apologise for the lag that will come about due to the occupancy. And there it is, cars just drifting everywhere. And Lynn has got past Himbry, so Himbry now down into 7th place. Got Lynn and Cortum side by side in front of him. Bit of a slide for Cortum, and that allows Lynn to get by. And now Cortum trying to fight back. But to no avail. And now the run. And now they run through the carousel. And now through the king. Up at the front there, O'Hara with a bit of a lead now. He's just edged away. He's had a good first lap here. With a bit of a gap over Hall and Macca in 2nd and 3rd place. And then Macca has got a fairly sizable gap between himself and Delaney, who is on the screen at the moment in P4. And Delaney, a little bit of a gap over Lynn in 5th place. But Lynn does have Cortum for company. And then we've got Himbry, who's got Peter Reid having a look behind him in the background. And I do apologise for the stutters and the lag. So Reid now in the wheel tracks, Tim Himbry in front. There was a bit of lag there. Reid trying to make the move up the inside. So it looks like Himbry holds on for now. Himbry a little bit wide though. It's going to be Reid back in the game. Do apologise for that. So Himbry now starting to head. A bit of an angry pack now. He's not too far away from Cortum in front, but he's definitely keeping his eye more on the mirrors and the track in front of him. Looks like Lynn and Cortum side by side ahead. As occupancy makes them look like they're Tokyo drifting through every single corner. O'Hara fastest lap 2:06.6, and not bad pace from him. 2:08. Lynn 2:07 for Cortum. All now 2.3 seconds behind O'Hara. Macca starting to pass Lim just a little bit. As Cortum's got past Lynn, so I do apologise for missing that one. Did cut away, but Cortum now up into P5, Lynn down to P6. And looks like Himbry ain't too far away either. As once again, they look like they're drifting through there. We're just showing his nose up the hill there. Not quite close enough to make a move. Just trying to distract Lynn in front. Oh, it looks like a little bit of a lock-up, and wide goes Lynn. And they're going to be side by side. Well, they were going to be side by side, but Himbry now up into P6. Himbry up into 6. Lynn down to 7. So it hasn't been a good lap and a half for Josh Lynn. He's just got to focus now, but oh, there's another spot. So he's lost a spot out to Reed at Canada Corner, and Lynn has dropped from 5th place to 8th place in one lap. And now he's got Gomez right behind him as well. Bit of a mistake coming out of the final corner. Should give Gomez a decent run, and in fact, Gomez should take that position and does. He will be under threat from Cotter as well in behind, 2:11, so he's dropped 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds on that last lap, so shocking lap for Josh Lynn. He's got to refocus. There's still 20 laps to go here. Still in the top 10, but if he has many more laps like that last one, he'll find himself well down the field. In fact, looks like Gomez travelling quite nicely at the moment. Started just outside the top 10, but currently sitting in 8th place and looking to pressure Peter Reed in front. Once again, just that lag, just sort of stuffing things up just a little bit. In fact, a little bit further down the field. We've actually got King Lucas down in 15th place, so not a good running for him so far. We see him further up the field. The Red Bull Racing ZB Commodore. Currently behind Webster and Lauder. Looks like Mercenary. Perhaps that was just a gap. It looked like he got past someone. And in fact, we've had Gomez in the pits. So early strategy call from Matty Gomez. Looks like he's going to try and undercut a number of the drivers as Ash Webster sets his personal best of the race. Lucas at 2:07.9. And we've had Cotter get past Lynn. So Lynn down another spot. Cotter now behind his teammate. A couple seconds back though. Looks like Himbry on that last lap has just stretched away from Peter Reed behind him, and he's sort of just sticking about 1.5 seconds behind Scott Cortum in 5th place. So a strong running from Himbry so far. And Cortum couple seconds back from Delaney. Oh, in fact, Himbry's gone around at the kink. I wonder what has happened there. I wonder if he has just clipped the grass on the entry. And he's had to... Oh, he's balked, and Nissan behind him did a good job not running into the back of him. So I was just praising Himbry, doing a solid job. And I reckon he's just clipped the grass on the entry, lost the rear, overcorrected, and that's why he's ended up in the gravel trap. So he's now down in 11th place, and I wonder if he'll make the strategy call of pitting early, just like Gomez did a lap ago. Got all over the back of Lauder. It's going to try and make the move up the inside. It does make the move up the inside at the final corner. So that's Webster now up into 13th place. He's got Keen Lucas 2.5 seconds up the road. And Lucas, after setting a 2:07 on the last lap, 2:08.7 this time around. Immediately straight after, Lauder gets the move done. He doesn't want to give up 13th. Webster goes deep into turn 2. And they exchange positions once again. Looks like Lauder's got the better exit out of turn 2. But it will be a drag into turn 3. Lauder will be on the outside. Has got the nose in front, but Webster probably not going to want to give that up. He's going to try and outbrake him now into turn 3. And he does so. A little bit of a slide there from Lauder, and that allows Webster to definitively take that position now. Again, I do apologise for the warping and the lag due to the massive CPU usage of this circuit. In front of him, looks like being lazy. Right as we ride on board Keys, being lazy, starting to hassle Himbry, who just made a mistake. And it looks like we've had a swap between Rista and Scotty. And new fastest lap, Andrew O'Hara 2:05.7. Cut to Hall. Let's see what no, it doesn't say what lap time he managed, but I don't think it was better. That gap has come out just a little bit now, about 4.5 seconds. So right on board Tim Himbry as he goes up the hill towards the start finish line. 7.8 for Lynn that time round, so back in the 7th of him. 7.8 for Himbry, and being lazy behind at 2:10.0. Now Lucas all over the back of Keezy. So Lucas starting to put it together, starting to find a little bit of a groove. And he'll be hoping by the end of this race he finds himself inside the top 10. Now right behind Keys, who's also started to edge closer to being lazy in front. He'll be now stretching his legs in front of the yellow and black Freightliner entry. P4. Delaney and Courtman not separated by too much, around about a second. between these two. Fortune wanting to make it a Nissan 2, 3 and 4. Out of turn 14, they both run up the hill on the Road America straight. According to Wikipedia, 206.8 for Cortum, 207.0 for Delaney. So Cortum just that fraction faster on that last lap. Nash Webster doing a personal best on that last one after getting past Thomas Lauder. We'll stick with this battle for P4 for now. We'll see what Scott Cortum can muster. It doesn't look like there's too much between these two at the moment, though, that's for sure. So the pit stops might decide the 4th place finish. So championship-wise, it'll certainly help out O'Hara with both the high contrast racing cars running in 6th and 7th. That said, though, they will be picking up a still solid amount of points in 6th and 7th. So we've got 16 laps to go here. Delaying just a little bit of lift there for the kink. We'll jump on board O'Hara later on, and we'll see how he's tackling the circuit in the race. So it looks like that gap between these two is certainly stabilised. And there's the two high contrast racing cars and Josh Lynn. And then Tim Himry starting his little fight back. He's got a ways to go though. And then Keys, Lucas, Being Lazy. So Being Lazy's dropped behind that group now. Webster. And then Lauder has been dropped by Being Lazy. And then we've got Greg Brock in 15th. Back at the pointy end of the field. And Cortum's had a solid start to this lap because he's not too far away now from Delaney. Gap has come down by a tenth or two. As you can see, about 7 seconds between Cortum, 6 or 7 seconds between Cortum and Reed. So just going a little bit further back in the field. Josh Lynn, Matt Cotter, not separated by much at all. Gap very similar to the Cortum Delaney one. Got him 5.5 seconds back. Separating these two at the moment. It looks like we've got Brock is out, so something has happened to Greg Brock, and he is out of the race. His car not appearing anyway, so perhaps an internet failure of some sort stopped him down. But the front looks like the gap is stabilised between Hall and O'Hara. 206.6 for O'Hara on that last lap. 205.9 for Hall. So Hall, as the race progresses at the moment, starting to find a little bit of speed. He's not far off the fastest lap of the race, which was, I believe, a 205.6 from O'Hara. He was able to pick up a good 7/10 on that last lap. So Hall travelling along quite nicely. And he'll be hoping to keep that pace up for the remaining 14 laps, and for his sake, bring himself back back into contention to battle for the lead, as we've got Mean Lazy in the pit lane. In the Freightliner Brad Jones entry. And the gap between Delaney and Gordon still hovering around about that 1 second range, so not much between these guys at the moment. Still remaining around about 9/10 of a second. And these guys sort of out on their own just a little bit, with Macca up the road, Reed further down the road. And for those playing along at home, those little coloured marks next to the numbers and the names, they indicate obviously which car people are driving. So the white indicates that it is a Holden ZB Commodore. The purple represents the Nissan Altima, and the blue that represents the Ford Falcon FGX. So we are now approaching the halfway mark of the race. So 24, well, yeah, about 24 minutes of racing to go. 6.9 for Delaney, 7.0 for Cortum. Nothing really between these two, and 7.7 for Reed. So Reed fair ways off these guys, and that's why they're just edging away at the moment. And Reed, the gap between himself and his teammate just sort of hovering around the 3-second mark. And then Lynn sort of stabilised that gap between himself and Cotter just a little bit, but Himbury is edging just a little bit closer towards Josh Lynn. So I reckon as we go further and further into the race, we will see these guys probably battle it out in the final few laps. Fortunately, I don't have a lap marker to be or live timing to be able to go through and tell all the lap times of the drivers, and go through and see what laps drivers have all been setting. But we'll make do at the moment. Might as well jump to our race leader. He's about to come up and start another lap. The 12th lap of the race. And he doesn't enter the pits, so we'll ride on board and see how Andrew O'Hara tackles this Road America circuit in race trim. So he sets a 2:06.2, so solid pace from him, 2:06.5, so he was able to obviously get back some of the time he lost on the last lap. So nicely through turn 1, not too many dramas at all. We've got Delaney in the pit lane, that's why the P next to his name. So Delaney in the pits at the halfway mark. And nice exit from O'Hara out of turn 2, so nice and smooth is the order of the day through the first sector. For one of the biggest, if not the biggest, braking point of the circuit. Now into turn 3. This tricky little left-hander here at turn 4. Well, it's actually classified as turn 6, but it is. There's a couple corners that probably shouldn't be classified as corners. And this is quote-unquote turn 8. And now the carousel. And unfortunately getting a little bit of lag, so it looks like he's drifting through the corner when in fact he isn't. And now out of the carousel. Nice nice exit from O'Hara through the kink. A little bit of a lift. And Lucas still in the pit lane. He's dropped down now into 17th place. 18th place. Now Canada corner. Nice and smooth through there. Doesn't use all the road available this lap around on the entry. Does on the exit. Doesn't outbrake himself for the final corner, which is easy to do, but he probably wouldn't wanted to probably again kiss that little curb on the inside, but still solid lap for O'Hara. And that is a 2-minute 6.295 around Elkhart Lake. And with that pit stop, that's also allowed Corcham into 4th place. So now I've got a Nissan 2, 3 and 4. And Delaney down in 10th place. But he's in a bit of space, so that pit stop shouldn't affect him too much. And in fact, he'll be trying to get a little bit of an undercut over Corcham and Macca, and hopefully claw back some time back to Macca. But his tyres won't be as good at the end of the race. And we've got also Josh Lynn now in the pits, as is Ash Webster. We're setting some personal bests as well just prior to the pit stop, so he's travelling along nicely. And that, of course, elevates Delaney now back up into 8th place. And Tim Himbry now into 7th position. So just having a look through the field. It's like Mercenary, Scott and Bean Lazy fairly close together on the circuit. So we'll stick with this little battle pack for now. 13-0 for Mercenary, 13-3 for Scotty, and Bean Lazy didn't have a lap time pop up. And those guys jump up in front of Ash Webster, who's just exiting the pits. But I don't believe Mercenary Scotty or Bean Lazy have pitted yet. Oh, no, in fact, Bean Lazy has pitted, so that is for effective position between Bean Lazy and Webster. But neither Mercenary or Scott in front of them have. So nice little battle pack starting to form here. Looks like on this lap, Mercenary is doing a slightly better job. Scotty's now starting to get hassled by Bean Lazy in behind. Both of them in Brad Jones racing cars, but I don't believe they're affiliated in any team. And we've got Hall and Corcham, so both those Nissans in the pits. That's now elevated Macca into P2, Reed up to P3, Cotter into P4. But where will Delaney... And we've also got Himbry in the pits. Where will Delaney come out? Will he jump Corcham in the pits? No. So Corcham will hold on to position for now, but Delaney will have the momentum through turn 1 and coming into turn 2, but he's not quite going to be close enough. Also, these being supercars as well, there are no tyre blankets for supercars, so Corcham has to get his he has to wait for his tyres really to get up to pressure and up to temperature, while Delaney's had a full couple laps to get his up to operating temperature and in that operating window that you need. But that gap now is nothing. It's a little bit wide there for Corcham, and he's now under pressure. Delaney shows his nose at the top of the hill there at 6, but not quite close enough to just send it for position. But absolutely nothing between these two. We've got yellows next to Gomez and Webster. Yep, they're both around. They're both around at turn 1. So possible attempted overtaking manoeuvre gone wrong there at turn 1. We'll cut back to the Cortum and Delaney battle, which is now raging. Delaney right there now with Cortum. Again, I do apologise for the lag and the warping of the cars. This shouldn't be an issue next season, but this track does seem to cause a couple issues. Oh, and Delaney is a little bit too wide on the entry on the grass. He avoids the barrier. Thankfully for him, though, almost spins himself around, gassing it up on the grass, but that will give Cortum, well, that will pretty much gift him that position. That position now, as we've got Cotter and Reed in the pit lane. And that will elevate Cortum and Delaney back up into 4th and 5th. So Cortum now, through the pit stop sequence, has jumped James Delaney, and it is now a Nissan 2, 3 and 4. And with that mistake, with only 9 laps remaining, Delaney's going to need to put in an absolute monster final 9 laps if he wants to claw back P4. We've also got Keys in the pits. So after the pit stop sequence, looks like Cotter has closed in quite a bit on his teammate Peter Reid. Only 1.5 seconds separating the two high contrast racing FGX Falcons. And Himbree has dropped, Cotter has dropped Himbree in that process as well. So he's a bit further back now. And got Scotty in the pit lane as well. And we've just cut to our race leader. I was about to ask when he would pit, but, well, as you can see, he's in the pit lane now. Now the question is, where will he feed out? Because Hall and Macca have both pitted. Been on some nice brand new rubber. And hopefully, for their sake, setting some nice and quick lap times. That said, there was, last time I checked, about 4.5 seconds between Hall and O'Hara is moving again. So he will comfortably stay out in the lead. But Hall will be hoping that that gap is diminished just a little bit. And a 2:06.0 for Hall on that last lap. So not ideal on fresh tyres. He'll probably be wanting to be in the 5s. It's not a slow lap by any means, but just to bring that gap down a little bit more, he would have been hoping just for a little bit more. Cut to Peter Reid, 33 for him, 32 for Cotter. I do believe that is just because we've been switching through the drivers. The timing next to their names does muck up just a little bit. 2:07.0 for Himbree. He's out on his own now in P8. Got a fair gap over Josh Lynn. So he's managed to stay in front of Lynn. And then now he's pretty much out on his own. He's got a fair gap between Mercenary and Bean Lazy, who are now side by side. Another pair of Brad Jones racing cars. And Bean Lazy probably will take this one up the inside into turn 1. And there it is, Bean Lazy now up into the top 10. And Mercenary down into 11th place. Both of them setting pretty much near identical laps on that previous lap. Just run further down the field. Keys in 12th place. He's got Webster a couple seconds behind him in 13th. And Lauder, he's sort of caught back up to the back of Webster just a little bit in the pit stop sequence. See now Simon Phillips, 2:08.5 for him. So he is here. There is a Monster Energy car on the grid, so I do apologise for that mistake earlier on when I was running through the team standings. And that early pit stop, so Gomez hasn't worked out for him. Perhaps he forgot to put fuel in the car at the start, because he's down in 16th, and he did have some pretty decent pace early on. But now he's well out of contention. As you see, Hall, fastest lap of the race at 2:05.4. Gap between himself and O'Hara, 3.2 seconds. We've got Quartum in the pits again. So what has happened to Quartum? Perhaps a drive-through penalty. And if he did that, I'm going to hazard a guess. It is for speeding in the pit lane. Coming in just a bit quick. Hasn't pulled into a pit box. So yes, drive-through penalty, I believe, for Scott Quartum. And that's going to drop him below Tim Himbry. So frustration. He finally gets himself up into P4. And the pit stop sequence, or perhaps track cutting, it could be either of those, picks himself up a drive-through penalty. So from 4th place now down to 8th. Does have a little bit of pace over Himbry, but 7 laps remaining and a few seconds between the two, it will be difficult. And in fact, we've also got Mercenary in the pits as well. So we'll just follow him and see if that's a drive-through for him as well, or if he's pulling into... No, it looks like he's pulling into the pit box. So perhaps he hadn't pitted, and now he has. And getting his pit stop sequence out of the way, and some fresh boots for the final 7 laps. And that's Delaney putting a lap on Dean Brister, who's in 19th place. And there's a bit of lag. So cue the Tokyo Drift theme. That's Hall at the moment travelling quite nicely. Looks like a little bit of traffic for O'Hara to end the lap. We'll see if it affects him as he crosses the start-finish line. So 2:05.8 for O'Hara, so good lap from him. A 2:07.1 for Hall. So all that work Hall did on the last couple laps, he's undone it with a very average lap time last time around. 2:05.9 for Mako, so he's travelled quite nicely on that last one. But at the moment, he's out on his own. 4.5 seconds behind his teammate, but a good 9.5 seconds in front of James Delaney. And again, Delaney himself is also out on his own. We've got Reed and Cotter. They're fairly close together on the circuit, within visual range at least. But there's, as you can see, 3.5 second gap between the two of them. And Tim Himbry is quite a few, about 3.5 seconds again behind Matt Cotter in front of him, and about 3.5 seconds ahead of Scott Quartum, who sits in 8th place at the moment. So just having a look through the field to find a nice little battle. But it looks like there's just a little bit of field spread. Closest battle probably is between Gomez and Lauder at the moment. Gomez recovering after that very, very early pit stop. Gomez 2:09.5, good 6 tenths faster than Lauder in front. Putting on a lot of lock at turn 1 there. Very, very aggressive and harsh on the front tyres, that'll be. And again, a lot of lock for turn 2. And he gets it through there, bit of a slide in the mid-corner. Means he wouldn't have had the most ideal exit out of... Well, it's classified as turn 3, but really it is turn 2. This little kink here is classified as turn 4, but again, it's not really a turn. Ooh, a little bit of a mistake from Lauder in front. That's going to allow Gomez to close in. As we see, O'Hara now new fastest lap, 2:05.444. Lauder again a little bit wide at turn 6. Manny Gomez not able to capitalise too much. And when he's hit the little anti-cut curb on the inside of 7, so that's dropped him back just a little bit, just when he was starting to get in that little dangerous territory where he could pick up a slipstream and possibly get by at Canada corner. But now, as he picks up a boatload of understeer through the carousel, is now bleeding time to Lauder in front. And in fact, he's got Keen Lucas right behind him as well, so he's probably now starting to look a little bit more in his mirrors than what he is in front. These three. It's a nice little battle at the end. A little bit of a slide. And wide goes Lauda. Canada corner. Gomez is going to go alongside. Up the inside. And Gomez holds onto it. Lucas now is going to probably try and stick it up the inside at the final corner. Gets the job done. But will Lucas pull it up? He does pull it up. And in fact, it's an okay exit. Lauda's probably got the best exit of them all. And is going to try and get P14 back. But Lucas, well, I was going to say Lucas did have a little bit of the slipstream, but Gomez has moved back. Well, he moved to the inside, then moved to the outside. So both drivers getting a little bit of slipstream in behind. Very late on the brakes from Lucas, up the inside. It's a late move, but he's able to just make it stick. Gomez thankfully saw it coming and gave him space, and we've avoided a big accident. So aggressive from Lucas, smart from Gomez. We've avoided what would have been a pretty big accident. And now after all that, looks like Lauda trying to get the move done on Gomez. As they're now going to be side by side into turn 5. But Lauda just backs out of it. And once again, we go Tokyo drifting due to the lag from this circuit. It's a nice little battle with 4 laps remaining. Gomez now starting to apply the pressure on Lucas. He's had a good couple corners, has Gomez. And they've got a Nissan coming up behind them. And that is Anthony Trisana, who is out of position. So he's trying to pick his way through this. But Lucas and Gomez now drilling quite hard. They've sort of dropped Lauda the last half a lap. 2:08.4 for Webster in front. What lap time will Lucas muster as he crosses the start-finish line? 2:09.6 and a 10.4 for Gomez, but they were battling on that last lap, and they would have bled a lot of time. And we've got the yellows out. Looks like Keys has had a spin at turn 1. He might have a little bit of damage, but he's now going to have Keys and Gomez putting him under all kinds of pressure. And in fact, it looks like he's getting out of the way, so he might have a bit of damage there. And that's now dropped Keys down into 14th place. Elevates Lucas up into P12. And now Gomez looking to again get past Lucas. So that get a little bit more lag there. But nothing between these guys at the moment. We'll just take a quick look around. We've got yellows out. That's Phillips. Just trying to think what corner is that at. That's at turn 2. So Phillips around at turn 2. That's elevated Scotty now up into 7th place. But he's got quite a big gap over Brister behind him. Yeah, between first and second now. It's jumped right out. So it looks like O'Hara's kept it nice and consistent. Hall's made a couple mistakes here or there. And the gap between Hall and O'Hara, as you can see, 11.3 seconds between the two. Delaney in P4, 10 seconds ahead of Reed. And 3 seconds separating Cotter and Reed. Himbry, though, he has started to close in on Cotter and caught him at the same time. That gap last time we were watching this battle was around about 3.5 seconds between Himbry and Courtsum. Is now 1.5 seconds. So we'll stick with this, I reckon, for the remainder of the race. Oh, and around goes Cotter. Around goes Cotter at the exit. At the exit of the carousel. So the pressure was too much. Pushing a little bit too hard. Running wide on the exit on the grass. And that has sent him around. It's elevated him up into P6. Caught him back up into P7. And Cotter with that mistake down into P8. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage. I don't think he hit the wall too hard. We've also got Keys in the pits. But Lynn is not too far away from Cotter. Should Cotter's rear tyres just be a little bit iffy. Ooh, and a bit of traffic, bit awkward for the leaders there. But of course I'm able to navigate it. That would have been, I believe that's, yeah, it's Keys leaving the pits there. Couple laps to go. 1.5 seconds between Cortum and Himbry. Just take a look back at the Manny Gomez and King Lucas battle. Not much between them. Looks like Lauder has been dropped. In fact, Mercenary, I was going to say, it was Gisana, sorry, in the Nissan in 20th. Is starting to hustle them a little bit. He seems quicker, but he's a few laps down, unfortunately for him. That's back at the front. And Himbry looks like he's just edged away so far on this lap. So he's doing a nice job at the moment to get himself back up into P6 after that spin at turn 7. Lost it well before the apex of the corner. We saw off in the background, ended up in the gravel trap, didn't hit the wall, but certainly dropped him a fair amount of time. He would have been probably ahead of Reed. I'm not sure if he would be near Delaney, but he certainly would have been fairly close to him on the road, that's for sure. And yeah, it has been a good lap so far for him. So we'll just jump back. We'll have a look at the Lucas and Gomez battle. Has dropped out quite a bit. And looks like Chisana has got past Manny Gomez. And now he's all over the back of Keen Lucas. It might be smarter for Lucas just to let the faster Chisana go, even though he's a few laps down. Just let him go and get him out of your hair. But instead, he's going to be pressurised. So go through the kink. Manny Gomez about 2 seconds away now. So that gap was under a second, just a lap or two ago. So he's made a mistake somewhere, or perhaps Chisana just forced a move to get himself just one, well, not position, but one car ahead on the road. And again, bit of lag, bit of Tokyo drift through the corners. And up the hill towards the start-finish line. Looks like Lucas now has just composed himself a little bit, and he is edging away from Gomez. Yeah, 1.7 seconds fast on that last lap, 2:10.1 for Gomez. Not going to cut it with a couple laps to go. Just sort of run through the field. I say, Being Lazy's done a very good job to get himself in the top 10. Webster running in 11th place. Up front though, and starting, well, he has just started his final lap. Andrew O'Hara, barring mistake on this final lap, should claim a comfortable victory. Now 12.5 seconds in front of Rusty Hall in second. Had a considerable 7/10 margin in qualifying. And he's continued that sort of dominance in the race so far. Hasn't put a foot wrong and has just edged away lap after lap. Even though Hall did challenge him for a couple laps there after or through the pit stop phase, where Hall did try to get a little bit of an undercut and did set I believe, a fastest lap at the time. O'Hara, though, has had the consistency and overall speed lap after lap to just edge away, and he will take a comfortable victory here. Although, it has to be said, he's run a decent race, but he's sort of fallen away as the race has gone on. Mack has done a solid job behind him in third place. And in fact, you could say, since the Supercar has been the better of the two Nissans, certainly been more consistent, but it's not going to be enough, barring a mistake from Hall, to nab second place. So only a few corners to go now for O'Hara, and he will claim victory. Penultimate corner. And now the final one, and then up the hill he will go. And Andrew O'Hara will take the initial 24 laps here at Road America for Auto Barn Racing. Well done, Andrew O'Hara. Comfortable 13 seconds in front of Rusty Hall in P2. And then in third place, also in an Nissan, Ross Macker, third place. So good driving from both of those guys. They're a distant second and third. And a distant fourth place will be James Delaney in the Red Bull Racing ZB Commodore. And he's going to finish well out in front of Peter Reid, who's just coming to lap Phillips just prior to the start-finish line. He'll finish about 4 seconds in the end over Tim Hembry, who does have Cortum right behind him. Cortum will be kicking himself for the drive-through penalty that he got. So Hembry 6th, Cortum in 7th place. Matt Cotter is just starting to come under pressure. About 5 or 6 laps to go from Tim Hembry in behind, but he dropped it on the exit of the carousel, sent him around, and that dropped him down 2 spots. So he'll finish 8th. Josh Lynn will finish in 9th. And Brendan Bean Lazy, all he has to do is navigate the final corner without issue, and he'll claim the final spot in the top 10. So nice, solid job from Brendan Bean Lazy. He was, I do believe, in the teens somewhere in qualifying, but he's put together a very solid race, and he'll finish in 10th place. Out on his own, but still a nice result from him. And 10 seconds behind him, we've got Ash Webster, who continued as the race went on, and he was fairly consistent as well in the mid-8s once he did find his pace. King Lucas will finish in 12th position, fairway off his teammate Delaney. He had a nice battle with Gomez towards the end of that race, and he was able to manage to just edge away in the end. Thomas Lauder, is he in the pits? Yes, he is in the pits. He finishes in 14th place. Then we've got Mercenary in 15th, Scotty in 16th, Phillips 17th. And then we have Keys, Brister, and Kasana, with Greg Brock, our only retirement of the race. So all in all, fairly decent race, that one, although I think a few drivers will be kicking themselves with a couple of little minor errors which in the end cost them quite big, especially with I think Scott Cortum in particular will be a little bit annoyed, as will Tim Hembry, running up there early on and finishing about, looking at the overall, it was about 5 seconds away from Peter Reid and 17 from James Delaney. Might not have got Delaney in the end, but he certainly would have finished in front of Peter Reid had he not had that spin early on in the race. And Cortum himself, without that drive-through penalty, he would have finished a comfortable 4th place in between Macca and Delaney. Alright, so that was race 1. And now we just have a short break, and it will be race 2 here for the AK Racing V8 Supercar Championship.